And just like that, it's Friday. The 4th of July. I should have played the Star Spangled Banner, shouldn't I, really? Hi, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. This is the Midday Show. And yes, I am going straight from here, running out the door and officiating at a funeral. Packed show today. And excuse my throat, I'm a little under the weather. So let's bring on, you know him, you love him. He's got 4 shows to talk about. Jonathan Bass.
Russ, good day to you. Lovely to be back with you. I missed you 2 weeks ago, but it's a joy to be sharing a screen with you.
You're very, very kind. Let's make you the, oh, hang on, that's gone horribly wrong. Let's make you the star of the show. I'm trying to do that. You carry on,
God
fella.
Bless you. God bless. Anyway, right, yes, 4 shows, lot to talk about. Some fantastic, some not. But let's start off with really a bit of a cracker that's only on for 1 more week at Sadler's Wells, and it is a brand new ballet interpretation of Quadrophenia, the Who's album that came out in the early 1970s, turned into a movie in 1979. And now it's a ballet where the music has been put to, well, obviously Rachel Fuller, who's orchestrated it. And I believe she is the Mrs. Peter Townsend, away from her keyboards and microphones and stuff. Okay. She's arranged it, stripped out all the lyrics, and had the music gloriously recorded by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and a very gifted director called Rob Ashford and choreographer whose name is Paul Roberts have taken the Who's album, turned it into a ballet in which the lead dancer, a chap called Paris Fitzpatrick, playing the Phil Daniels role of Jimmy, is glorious. The story plays out. Obviously, it's ballet. The story is effectively mimed. It's for your interpretation to put the story together. It helps if you know the album. But what is gorgeous about this production is not just the dance and the Who's music. And I have to say, when My Generation features in the soundtrack in the score of the ballet, it's like a bolt of lightning has gone through the audience. So I have to say, I was possibly in the lower age structures of the percentiles of the audience that night. My Generation woke everyone up like a defibrillator across the whole auditorium. But the show was brilliant. But what I was going to say is the projections. So the scenery is very, very simple. There's very little physical scenery that they're dancing around. There is, of course, a mandatory scooter that does appear on stage.
Of course.
But the projections that are put together that range from cityscapes through to some gorgeous seascapes and waves, because, of course, so much of it takes place in and around Brighton. It's gorgeous.
Where did you say it was on?
It's on at Sadler's Wells. It's only on for 1 more week before it goes on a modest tour. A lot of money has been thrown into it. I believe Universal Studios are part of the producing team alongside Sadler's Wells. Wow. It's a big cast. It's well produced. The production values, I can't praise them highly enough. It is, like I say, it's a fabulous night of modern ballet. Great story. Prompted me to go and download the movie last weekend, and I've not seen the movie since 1970.
Toya's in? Am I going mad?
Toya has the more minor female role. Yeah. Leslie Ash is the real squeeze.
Yes,
that Phil Daniels, Phil Daniels engages in intercourse with Leslie Ash in a back alley in Brighton.
Classy.
A highly memorable scene. And of course, in the movie,
took her up the lanes.
He took her up the lanes, indeed. And you're also presented with some glorious full frontal stuff from
Oh,
Mr.
sweet.
Daniels and Ray Winston themselves in their glorious teenage selves in the municipal baths, giving each other some brilliant banter over the walls of the bathhouse. The cast of the movie from back in 1979 is glorious. You've got Phil
Yeah.
Daniels, got Ray Winston, Leslie Ash, Toya. You've got Timothy
Sting?
Small. Yes,
Oh my
Sting.
God.
Sting
Sting's in it,
popped
isn't it?
up as the
Yeah.
ace face, guy on a particularly cool scooter, who in fact turns out to be just a bellboy at the Grand Hotel. And
Spoiler
you
alert.
know, back in that day, Sting was just listed as Sting on page 2 of the cast. You know, long before he was a big star. The
Huge.
police were already around. I mean, the film is just great. Filmed on location in and around Wembley and Brighton, as I dutifully Googled and checked on ChatGPT. But the ballet, as I say, the ballet is fantastic. If you enjoy modern dance, then and you love the music, then go. And if you're the sort of person who says, "Well, I don't usually go to the ballet," I would say make an exception in this case. You'll recognize the tunes if you if you're of that era, and if you're not, just go and be educated. It's a great slice of Britain. It's obviously set in the 1960s, the time of the Mods riot. It explores in a little more depth, which the movie doesn't do, the impact of World War II on Jimmy's dad, who's brilliantly danced by Stuart Neal. It's clever, haunting stuff, and it made
One
me.
of the things we always forget, Jonathan, and you've, as you always do, touched on something so important. We think of, oh, the swinging 60s and the 60s. It was 20 years after the end of the war. 20, it was nothing.
Yep.
Nothing.
So,
And it's only with the passage of time you begin to realize why the 60s exploded as a reaction to the absolute horrors of World War II, which was it's not, when people say, oh, it was in living memory, 20 years ago.
absolutely. You
It's
know,
nothing. It's
soldiers who
nothing.
were in their 20s fighting in the Second World War and were fortunate enough to survive were in
Yeah,
their 40s, 50s,
correct.
whatever,
Yeah,
through that.
absolutely.
And as I say, the ballet touches on the trauma of his dad. It's because the movie, the movie has Kate Williams as his as Phil
Oh, I
Daniels'
used to like,
mum.
what was she in? She was in
Love Thy
loads of things.
Neighbor, I
I
think.
loved it. Was
You
it?
know,
Was it?
it's worth blowing the dust off a
Yeah,
download of
yeah.
Quadrophenia.
By the way, this show is totally international, and because we're being watched in Sydney, Australia, right now with
Fantastic.
Michelle Vaughan.
Good
So
day.
there we are.
Or good evening.
It's a good evening for her. Yes, it is.
Indeed.
It is good evening for her. So there we are. That sounds good. That is
And-
actually something I would probably
like I
go
say,
to.
it's worth seeing.
Big Who
It's
fan.
worth seeing. You'll know
Yeah.
the music. You'll hum
Yeah,
along.
yeah.
You'll tap your feet, and you'll love the story. Well, sticking with that international theme, which you've just played in, Russ, gives me a great opportunity to slide smoothly over to a Greek tragedy that was Disneyfied into cartoon. Of course, I'm talking about Hercules.
Oh, Hercules. Oh, you've seen it.
Back in the late
wow.
1990s,
Yeah.
they brought their movie out. It had some glorious voice work in it. For the life of me, I can't remember who played Hercules, the chiseled hero, but James Woods was the villain. Woods,
that's right. James Woods.
James Woods voiced Hades. Danny DeVito voiced Phil, who was the shortened version of Philoppolis or some other very classic Greek name that I can't remember, but Disney called him Phil. Danny DeVito gave him a voice, and it was a glorious, because I took my kids who were young at the time. It was a glorious afternoon at the cinema to see it. Alan Menken together with David Zippel, had written some lovely songs for it, though, to be fair. Only two of them were really memorable. One was Hercules singing Go the Distance, and I'm not going to hum it for you here.
Oh, thank God.
And the other strong feature of the movie was the five effectively soul gospel singers who were the muses
Oh, that's right.
A Greek chorus.
Yeah, that's right.
Their lyrics were wonderfully satirical, and their song, their big song, was "Zero to Hero," and
I
in the
don't
movie
remember
they
any
were
of those.
in the movie they were fantastic. And to be fair, on stage, the 5 spectacular women who are the muses this time around are the driving force of this show, but unfortunately not much else is.
Oh no!
If one looks, for example, at
Oh, they've spent a
Disney's,
fortune on the market. They've been marketing it for months.
indeed, if one looks, for example, at The Lion King, which was Disney's first foray into big Broadway stroke West End, transformation
Yeah,
of their
yeah.
show. And The Lion King is genius.
Oh, it's magnificent. It's
it
magnificent.
it
I went
really,
to one of the first media
yep.
showings of it, if you like, and I couldn't get over it. I was absolutely gobsmacked.
One can only wish that the same artistic values could apply to the Hercules show, but they've got some creatures and monsters there, which compared to the puppetry magic of The Lion King, where the puppets are magic, and literally after 2 minutes,
you're convinced, aren't you?
You forget that they're puppets, and you're convinced that they're animals. Such is the ingenuity of the design. That's not the case here.
It's fully immersive. I'm just thinking, you're so right. The Lion King is fully immersive, and it takes you on that story and brings you with it. And you don't think, oh, it's just a bloke in a mask. You think, well, it's a lion up there. It's fabulous.
Hercules is just, at times, it's like a lame and expensive pantomime.
Oh,
the monsters and creatures in no way have the genius of the Lion King's design.
I'm so disappointed to hear this. I was hoping you were going to say it was great, but
no, the chappie who plays Hades, who puts on a very game act, a chap called Stephen Carlyle. Look, James Woods is always going to be a tough act to follow, albeit 20 years ago, and most of the people in the audience probably won't even, a lot of the kids in the audience
they won't remember
know what I'm talking about.
They don't have a clue.
But I found his Hades just disappointing.
In what way, John? In what way was it?
It was
weak, or was it not threatening? Wasn't evil?
It was camp, but in the way that Julian Carey would do camp brilliantly. It was a limp attempt at Julian Clary, for want of a better phrase. Julian Clary is not everyone's cup of tea.
Precisely.
But what he does bloody well. And I'll say that, and I'll take no opposition to that. You may dislike the way he presents himself.
No, I don't, because I know I'm going to see. The difference is I know I'm going to see Julian Clary, so I expect him to behave and do his show like Julian Clary.
He is a brilliantly monstrous ogre of a character. In all of the pantomimes that he does, and he's brilliant, and he's hilarious, etc., etc. Hades in Hercules tries to, in my opinion, is a dampened down version of that. Trevor Dion Nicholas is the chappie who picks up the role that Danny DeVito had on screen. Trevor Dion Nicholas is a talented guy. He was once upon a time the genie on stage in Disney's Aladdin, so he knows his way around being a larger than life Disney character, but he's just not given enough to work with. I came away, as I say, underwhelmed. I mean, the prices, of course, are eye-watering.
Explain to
top
everybody.
Price $175.
Oh, shut up! Shut up! So you've got 2 kids.
If you go with your other half,
how are you going to do this?
2 kids.
No thanks.
You've got to have a lot of money to have really good seats.
What's the average price then? Say, who's going to?
Well, I'm sure
I can't get over it.
I'm sure you're going to get tickets for 20, 30, 40 up in the gods.
Appropriate for Hades.
No, to be honest, you need to be down in the underworld.
Well, precisely. You could be in the cellar, maybe.
Yeah, if you want to be in the stalls with
15
Hades,
quid next door in the loo,
right,
in a calf.
So yeah, it's
and where's it? It's on in
Drury Lane.
Drury Lane.
Couldn't be a bigger stage.
Let me ask you this.
Go on.
Right? I know obviously, we've discussed it before. To put on a musical in the West End in London, you need a minimum bankroll, minimum of £5 million.
Yeah,
That's
and
starting.
more went into
That's just starting
it.
price.
Well,
That's
yeah,
before
yeah,
you,
yeah.
you know, bought an ice cream vendor or something. I know they've got to get their money back, but geez, 175. Everyone's bleeding in the UK at the moment. It couldn't
Yep.
have come at a worse time,
Well,
really. You know
and 175 is but a warm up for the prices for Evita, which
what?
is moving swiftly on. Top price, though. I guess if you wanted Andrew Lloyd Webber to lob in a chalk ice or a glass of champagne,
Yeah.
currently the top price stall seat without a chalk ice or
Yeah.
a glass of fizz is £245.
Are you kidding me?
At the Palladium?
£245 to see a show.
Indeed.
This has gone mad.
And that, as I say, and I'm sure there are probably premium prices on top of that, and that's at face value. And I wouldn't be surprised, given the certainly the buzz that is surrounding the show, if people are paying a lot more on the secondary ticket market for it. It would not surprise me, because and you've really got to be living under a rock if you've not heard this news, that the real highlight of the show, song wise, the money shot, to use the adult movie vernacular,
nice, Jonathan.
Thank you. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Yeah.
Which in the show is effectively, delivered by Eva Perón from the balcony of the Casa Rosada in Buenos Aires. That's where it's meant to be. So Jamie Lloyd, who once upon a time was the enfant terrible of theatre direction, a lot of radical thinking. For me, in Evita, it's more terrible without the enfant terrible in that phrase.
That's one of the best lines you've ever given in the years we've been working together.
Well, I thank you.
That is terrific.
He has chosen, and of course with the full blessing of Lloyd Webber, who's one of the producers of this show, along with the also brilliantly talented Michael Harrison, another producer. He has placed this, as everyone by now is well aware, he has Evita come out onto the balcony of the Palladium, facing Argyle Street. The punters are walking by. They're coming out of Five Guys. They may be going to Pret. Who knows? Whatever. Though, to be fair, there's a good 200 or 300 most nights that have actually assembled there. And dutifully, after the interval, 2 or 3 minutes in after the interval, and it happens at around 9 o'clock. People that want to go along and see it.
Thanks for the warning.
Out she pops.
Yeah.
Sings a song. And then scuttles off.
So what they got? They got speakers facing out into the street, or how's that?
Well, there are. So, in the interests of our devoted listeners, Russ, not only was I there this week when the show opened, but last week, prior to the opening, I took myself to Argyle Street. Thankfully, it was not raining. I stood amongst the throng and waited to see what all the fuss was about. And of course, it happens just after the interval. The crowd has been gathering outside for about, 30, 40 minutes beforehand. During the interval, the paying punters from inside the Palladium, some of them pop out to take pictures of the crowd. Those of us in the crowd were taking
I'd have spent £245. I won't be leaving my seat.
Well, there you go.
I'll be there. I'll be
and to be fair, my opinion of that, so as I say, a lot of press coverage has been given to this. And who was it who sang the song from Both Sides Now? I should have researched this before the show today. I'm sorry.
Both Sides Now? Joni Mitchell.
Well, I thought it was Joni Mitchell. I'm not so sure. Anyway, I have seen this act now from Both Sides Now.
Very good.
I saw it on the street and then in the theatre. When this moment comes, a big screen, the orchestra, picture the stage, the orchestra are backstage on Evita, but fully visible, for some of the show, but back of the stage. They're not in a pit. A massive screen descends towards the back of the stage that blocks off the orchestra. It's a very clever screen. It must have cost millions itself because it's full of tiny LEDs, and it projects the image of Rachel Zegler doing her song, walking through the lounge of the Palladium onto the balcony, singing Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. So these people who've paid £245, where usually you would expect to see Eva Peron on stage in front of you singing to the very best that her voice and the acoustics of the building will permit.
The big number.
You are getting this big number entirely electronically. And I would say also recorded, brought to you from a suboptimal environment of outside on Argyle Street. To be fair, the camera pans around at times, and you do see, so it was only when I was there the second time, it's actually seeing the show, that the people who are in the crowd do actually appear on the screen for the audience inside to see that Ava's singing to a crowd. But actually 200 or 300 people in Argyle Street means that most of Argyle Street is actually empty. So for this image, in my opinion, really to have worked, you want something like Buckingham Palace on Coronation Day, where the crowds fill the mall for as far as the eye can see. Well, when the camera pans around Argyle Street, you do see a small crowd of people looking up in adoration at Rachel Zegler. You see the Pret, its very distinctive star logo sticking out like a
well-known South American restaurant.
Indeed, and El Pret is actually just next door to the Palladium, and from there on up, the street is empty. So it kind of looks a bit.
It's a gimmick.
It is
the end. It's a gimmick. It's a publicity gimmick. It's clever in concept and annoying in practicality.
I don't think that, frankly, Miss Zegler has the chops to lead the show. That's my opinion. I'm in a minority amongst the critical fraternity, but she, if you look at Evita, there's a great song, Buenos Aires, where she talks about, Ava talks about star quality that she brings. And heavens, Rachel Zegler certainly brings star quality. She has a following of millions and millions, following Disney's Snow White, Say No More, and West Side Story that Spielberg directed a few years ago. For me, in my opinion, I don't think she's the right person for the job. Other critics, I'd say most other critics do. I found the show, a good Evita can move me from time to time. The woman, disgracefully, I can't remember her name, who plays the mistress, sings Another Suitcase in Another Hall.
Yes, a great song.
She moved me. It's very loud. It's the production that Jamie Lloyd put on at the Open Air Theatre 7 years ago, which I thought was astounding. An American actress played the lead there who I'd never heard of, called Samantha Pauly, Pauly, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was revolutionary, groundbreaking, and that doesn't really extend into the Palladium, I have to say. So for me, I feel it's a little bit of a cheating experience, and also the sound is appallingly loud. It's at rock concert volumes. So if you do not know the show and you do not know the songs, you're going to struggle with a lot of the lyrics.
But that's just dumb. Why would they do that? Everybody knows the acoustics of the Palladium, so you set everything to the levels that are appropriate.
I don't know. I mean, Lloyd Webber has commented, the orchestra, it's a big orchestra and it's a magnificent orchestra.
So it should be for that money.
And his music is gorgeous. But as I say, as a show overall, in my opinion, I certainly am not seeing the magic. I'm inclined to think it's a little bit of the Emperor's New Clothes to as far as
I gave just for clarity, I gave Jonathan a promise that I wouldn't give my views about Rachel Zegler. But I will say this, all right? She starred in West Side Story, which lost millions. She starred in Snow White, which cost the studio about 300 million. So everything she's touched has had the reverse Midas touch, the reverse. I don't get it. And if you're going to put someone like that in, you just look at a track record and think, well, it hasn't been successful, has it?
Yeah, I suspect this show will be successful.
Yeah,
You know, I'm
probably.
hearing that Broadway are pulling everyone's arm off to get the show over there.
Probably, yeah.
Though, I mean, I have to say, from a security perspective, to have someone who is a big star publicly singing on a balcony in New York
Good luck.
will, I suspect, have the security teams of the show scratching their heads in a lot of
Well,
anguish.
well, I will merely say this: the way New York's going should be lauded because of her political views.
Indeed,
So should be safe as houses.
yeah, fair point. Fair point. Now,
Barbara Streisand was doing the role. I
uh,
don't think it was going to happen, but there you go. All right, that's all I said. See, I kept my word.
let me finish on a rather joyous note of there's been a cast change in Wicked, to which I'm a number of times invited to see new casts take over, but I accepted the invitation of the producers this time around and went to see the show earlier this week. And the two incumbents in the lead roles, playing Elphaba, all greened up, is a lovely
How I feel at the moment. Yep.
name of Emma Kingston. And she is she's not a very young actress, but she's a young actor.
I'm glad they didn't bypass her then.
With a fair number of credits to her, strings to her bow already, including, interestingly, Lloyd Webber having cast her a few years ago as Evita on a tour of the Southeast Asia and South Africa. So she was away in the Southern Hemisphere for, gosh, 6 or 7 months doing Evita. And if there's a show of Evita that I'd like to have seen, I would say it's that one, but I didn't. But I've only ever heard good things about it. So she is currently playing Elphaba, and playing Glinda, the dumb blonde role, is Zizi Strallen, who is a name you may have heard of or may not have heard of. She is a ridiculously gifted performer of her generation. She can sing and dance and act her socks off. And what blew me away about this production of Wicked, and I've seen it a few times on stage now, was the chemistry between these two women. It was gorgeous. It really opened the show up to me. God, I know the songs inside out and back to front, but it was lovely. The theatre was packed as well, with a load of school parties in, and you think, what a great way for kids to well, maybe I could be very patronizing and saying discovering theatre, maybe a number of them were, but certainly just for
I
kids
think
to
that's
be
a very
there
valid point because you've only got that or Panto
at prices that would have been reasonable because the schools would have all got subsidized group rate tickets, etc. So the theatre was full. Everyone was screaming and shouting and cheering at the right spots. And it's nice to revisit Wicked because it's written by Stephen Schwartz, who deserves to have had more big smash hits to his name than he's really had. Wicked unquestionably is a big smash hit. But aside from that, Schwartz wrote Pippin, which had a brief burst of celebrity in New York not so long ago.
I think I saw it.
And he's done some good Disney stuff, Stephen Schwartz. But other than Wicked is mega, but that's his only mega offering. But Stephen Schwartz is a brilliant, like Sondheim, a brilliant composer and lyricist. And there's one song, I'm going to read some lyrics from him, Wicked. The Wizard of Oz sings to Elphaba not long after she's met him. And he's talking to Elphaba about how great it was that he was made the wizard, how everyone called him wonderful. And there's this great bit of philosophy. And the wizard goes, Elphaba, where I'm from, we believe all sorts of things that aren't true. We call it history. A man's called a traitor or a liberator. A rich man's a thief or a philanthropist. Is one a crusader or a ruthless invader? It's all in which label is able to persist. And that lyric is just genius. Because it nails down so much of actually what affects us, what splits our world, what drives our world. Schwartz's lyrics, they are inspired. But so I'm glad I got that in, because those are probably my favorite clever lyrics from the show. The songs are gorgeous. The friendship that these two girls recognize and the strengths of real friendship which is what the show is all about, aside from how the Wicked Witch became wicked. It's lovely. It really was a very gorgeous night at the theatre. I'm embarrassed to say how many times the tears were flowing down my cheeks.
Really?
Oh yes, they hit the sweet spot on a number of occasions. So yeah,
You don't cry overly compare the market TV adverts, do you, with the meerkats?
Interestingly, the time that I cried the most in the cinema it was in Spielberg's West Side Story, but it was not at Mrs. Zegler. It was with Rita Moreno. I don't know if you saw the movie, Russ.
Of course.
Yeah. So the modern one, not the 1966.
No, the new one. No.
Yeah.
Oh,
right. Okay. So you've got Spielberg cast Rita Moreno as a female interpretation of Doc, who's the old guy who runs the drugstore, who all the kids hang out with and whatever. The wise old character of the neighborhood. Right. He had Rita Moreno cast in that. And Rita Moreno, of course, played Anita back in 1966, won the Oscar for her role that included singing America. Here she is, however many years later, 60 years later, I forget, 1966 or whatever it was when Spielberg's come out, and Spielberg gave her the Somewhere song. There's a place for us. Indeed. And the camera pans across, fictitious photos of her youth and her family from over the years, or, about this character. And it struck me, here is a woman who in 66 won an Oscar appearing in this movie. Here she is, decades later, still with us. Lord knows, life can be cruel and people are taken away from us. Here you have a woman who either was 90 or very close to 90, still hoofing it out and singing her heart out in the most beautiful song. And I absolutely sobbed at that moment in the way that I've never done at a movie. The humanity of Rita Moreno singing that song.
Oh, lovely.
Just blew me away.
I get choked up at the repair shop. That's the only thing I get. I get choked. I like the repair shop. It's gentle stuff. Yeah. Well, there we are. Yeah. Like the curate's egg, Baz Boy. We've got some good stuff. We've got some not great stuff. Not so good stuff. Yes. All I could think of with Evita, then I must let you go because Chantal Rickards OBE is chomping at the bit. Oh yes. Is that when I went to the Panto at the Palladium, and it was with Elaine Page, of course, who was in the Evita, and there's a great moment which still makes me laugh. She wanders onto the stage with a broom, and she's sweeping the stage of the Palladium, and she starts singing "Don't Cry for Me, I'm the Sweeper." And it just cracked me. It was just a throwaway gag, and I thought it was the funniest
from her as well.
Yeah, I thought it was just the funniest thing. Anyway, Jonathan Baz, you freaking legend. Are you ever home? Does Mrs. Baz ever get to see you?
What is this place?
I don't know. Home for you is the theatre. Is the theatre stalls and the bar.
Yep, indeed.
We'll see you in 2 weeks' time, God willing.
No, not in 2 weeks' time.
Oh no, you won't.
You'll see me shortly thereafter.
You sent me an email. I'll see you after that. And you look very well, and wherever you've been, it suits you because you've got a lovely tan. Jonathan Baz, the great theatre critic. See you soon. And oh look, I've got a little tiny face, little tiny person, little tiny me, because that's only suitable because that's the way I'm fit. Look at this, shirt and tie, suit already. Ladies and gentlemen, you know her, you love her, and back in Sydney, Australia, Michelle Vaughan will be thrilled to see her. Ladies and gentlemen, Chantal Rickards OBE. There you are. Where are you? You're somewhere nice.
I'm in a secret place. No, I'm in my office today, but I've got one of those little sort of cubicle things, so I'm just hiding in here.
So have I. It's called my bathroom.
Yeah, but I haven't got a decent microphone, and
it sounds great. It sounds lovely. We know you're in the loo. You're kidding nobody. You're kidding absolutely nobody. So let's get all the hellos in. Michelle Vaughan, hello. Philip Harling, he's from Yorkshire. Hi up. Hello, Chantal. What have we got here? We've got Julie Voice. Thanks, Jonathan, for the heads up on the prices. I've crossed it off my list. Those prices are insane. And I love this little gag. Views of Eros. Oh, what a circus. Very good gag, Philip. I don't put the things up during Jonathan's bit, and I'll tell you why, because I edit it all and he puts it out on his social media, on his various platforms. So I leave the the comments off. A big thank you, Chantal Rickards OBE.
Yes.
Because last week you recommended The Survivors, set
I did.
in Hobart, Tasmania. That's my wonderful town. Anyway, it's set in Tasmania, a place I know nothing about. And I binge watched all the 6 episodes. Excellent. Thank you so
Very
much.
good.
It was really, really good.
Good. I'm pleased about that.
And what was interesting,
doing this
completely
week?
different scenery.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, it was great. Beautiful, cliffs and,
Very good.
just looks fantastic. So thank you. If you want to,
Excellent.
as Chantal said last week, a 6-part mystery drama, who's dead, why they dead, what's happened, who did it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Really good. Called The Survivors.
Correct. And I cannot for the life of me remember which channel it's on, but
I'll tell you what it's on. It's on Netflix.
Netflix. Okay,
Netflix.
good. There we go.
Yep. Netflix. Very good. Okay. What's come across
Excellent.
your purview in your secret place?
Well, I was
Talking
gonna
about
send
secret, I
you-
got to tell you something. This will make you laugh. Right? I'm off in like 25 minutes, straight off to do a funeral. And tomorrow's a huge wedding that I've got to officiate.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Weddings.
massive. And then another
Tell us
funeral on Monday, and a funeral next Friday. Anyway, not the point. At this massive wedding, where the best man is Jason Fleming.
Oh, really?
Anyway, I have to give a special code word for the music, a code word. And I write everything out in huge detail. And today the groom said, Russ, got an email. What's the code word? It's written down in the script. The script goes on, this wedding script that I've written. It's like 12 pages of A4. It's huge. And been a lot of work. And it was so funny. They'd forgotten the code.
I did that once. I'm not sure if I told you this story, and if I did, you better stop me. That I was making a live 4-hour concert, which was marking the anniversary of John Lennon's death, the 10-year anniversary of John Lennon's death on Pierhead. And Joe Cocker had not turned up for his call time and was in fact 3 days late for his call time. Because we were there several days before. And of course, I tried to phone around every hotel in Liverpool to try and find out where he was. And what I had lost was the code list of the assumed names of all the talent that were in the hotels in Liverpool. And of course, I kept phoning up going, I'm one of the producers.
And they went, yeah, of course you are, love.
If Roberta Flack's staying with you, or if Joe Cocker's staying with you. And of course, everybody just blanked me. So that was not the time to lose the code words.
No. That is definitely not. And did you remain your normal, incredible, cool self?
Just about.
The littlest, tiniest bead of perspiration.
Yeah, it was.
Which,
it
of
was
course,
stressful.
would have smelt like Joe Malone.
Live television is stressful. Yeah, live television is stressful, as you know.
Scared the hell out of me.
And we won't really go down the whole BBC thing that happened at Glastonbury over the last few days, other than to say that heads should roll. It was, if you're running a live television program, you've been on live radio. We're live now. You have a massive responsibility to the audience. And you shouldn't actually be doing that stuff if you don't know how to do it properly and within the rules. And heads should roll. End of story. I was infuriated about it.
Well, it's taken me a full week to calm down. I was so upset. It sent me into a huge depression. I won't lie about it, apart from various other things that are going on health-wise. But it sent me into a massive depression. The apology from Emily Evis was so disingenuous. I
didn't hear it, actually. I didn't.
Well, it was a written apology, of course. Written, I'm guessing, by her lawyers, probably. And the fact is, they knew perfectly well who they'd booked. They knew perfectly well the shit show, I'd rather say, that those repulsive performers, they were given the sobriquet of artists because they're not,
Yeah.
new
Well, the
Midday
clue
now.
was in the title, was it not? You don't call you call yourself Bob Villain for a reason.
And handicap, as I call them, rather than kneecap. But you know that you've seen the act. It's all over on YouTube if you want to, vomit. And
Yeah.
so it's not a surprise to come out and go, we, wow, this is insanity, and it's lying. And then, of course, Tim Davie, the head of the BBC, was at Glastonbury. I mean, why turn down a freebie, eh? Plus, what is it? 400 staff. 400 staff they sent there. Something like 400 staff.
Well, I
and
mean,
it's
there
all
are
your money, ladies and gentlemen. It's all
60,000
your
staff
money.
on site.
It's not their money.
Yeah, there are 60,000 staff on site at Glastonbury, and actually, an OB of that enormity certainly merits that number of people. I mean, it probably is their biggest OB outside broadcast event over a 4-day period. So you are going to need a lot of staff to man that. But those people, those producers, exec producers and directors, and people sitting in the gallery, and the people behind them, and all of them had a responsibility.
You press a button, you cut the feed. That's the end of the story, and you get yourself out of hell. That's what you do. I've been doing live radio since 1984. And since 1984, I joined Capital Radio. And
okay, well, that's a long time.
And you know that if things are getting hairy and very difficult, you cut it. That's what you do. It is the simplest, most known rule in broadcasting.
Absolutely. If in doubt,
just cut it out. And a lot of people, now I'm going to put this up. I know it's not, well, you're media, so I'm going to spread the net a little wider. Philip Harling up in Yorkshire. A lot of people have said this, including my mate Bobby Crush, and a lot of people were very upset about this, that the Searchers, they didn't televise the Searchers' last ever performance. So now, 68 years the Searchers have been on the road. This was their last ever show.
Yeah.
It would have been courteous, at least, to show some of it, but they didn't televise any of it. Now, to me, that's sad. And Philip, you're quite right. A lot of people were, upset about it and thinking, well, come on, 68 years of entertainment. This is their bowing out. At least show one song.
Yeah.
Just one.
Is it on the iPlayer or not?
I don't think it's anywhere. I don't know. I don't think it's anywhere. Anyway, right. Question coming in from Dave Sleet for you.
Yes.
Any word of the new season of Manifest?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to find out.
Nor me. I never saw it.
No.
I think I watched episode 1 and then I kind of drifted out. Well, my concentration these days is because I'm staring at a screen all day. If I'm not at a lectern, my concentration levels are not great. There you go.
I'll try and find out. I'll dig around.
Okie dokie.
Yes,
absolutely. There you go, Dave. I hope that helps. What have you seen that you can recommend?
Well, what I've seen is, because you and I had a brief word during the week, and you said how much you enjoyed the Australian series. So I thought, well, I'll just look around and see what else is out there. And I did mention, probably a year ago, if not more, a series that was on the BBC called Scrublands. It's only the first series was a 4-parter. It's just come back for the second series, which is not linked to the first series, so you can jump in at series 2. And they are literally just 4 1-hours, so they're very bingeable. Perfect. You could do an evening. I could easily do that in one evening.
Get you? How do you do that?
Oh God! I mean, honestly, I am. My mum just said I was I had goggle eyes when I was growing up. Probably somebody should have taken the television away from me or taken me away from the television.
I grew up, being an only child, I grew up with the television. It was my friends. And radio. So there we are.
Yeah. Anyway, Scrublands is another Australian drama, and it's from the streamer in Australia called Stan, who are actually producing some really good material. Very good actor called Luke Arnold, who I only know from this particular series called Scrublands, who's an investigative journalist.
Ooh, like that.
And in the first series, he arrives in a small town where the local pastor has just got out an AK-47 or some such rifle and murdered his parishioners, which is a great a great start to the first series.
You're going to be in a chapel in under an hour. That's not good. That's not good at all.
Well, of course, there's a great yarn behind it. It's really good. Anyway, they immediately commissioned series 2. Okay. So series 2 is now back on the BBC as well. Another 4-parter. This one's called Scrublands Silver, because he goes back to a place called Port Silver. And rather like the Survivors one that we talked about last week, it's a bit of, it's his history. It goes back to his town. He's got a past there. And it starts with, he's going back to see the chap who was his best friend 25 years earlier, who is found murdered, and the person standing there with a bloodied knife is the investigative journalist's girlfriend.
Of course.
So that's basically the first 5 minutes.
Blimey.
And it goes on there. But it's a great premise, and you think, oh my God, where is this going?
Yeah.
And it unravels pretty quickly because it's only 4 hours. But I really enjoyed it, and I think everybody else will too. It's got great reviews. He's a really interesting actor. He's got an interesting face. And the cast around him are also very clever in the way that they just interweave the stories from then and now, and it gets bigger and bigger and more interesting. I liked it. I think it's worth watching. It's on the BBC. You can pick it up anytime you like, and for nothing, or nearly nothing.
Well, for £175.
Nearly nothing.
Yes. Okay. Scrublands. It's interesting.
Scrublands.
I love the way in these Australian and New Zealand things, when they disappear from these cockamamie one-horse towns and they go to like Melbourne or Sydney or somewhere like that, or Wellington, it's like they've gone to the moon. It's like, and you left and you went to Melbourne, and it's like, what? Yes. It's a fantastic thing, isn't it? You're not meant to leave these towns. You're meant to live there and die there. Yeah.
Indeed.
Thanks to you.
Now,
there we go. Thank you. Very polite. Very polite man. Right. What's next?
So I know you haven't got Apple. I'm sorry, but for all of our friends who are with us every Friday, I have to throw something from Apple in. I don't have to, but do. Actually, there's always, whatever they bring up is pretty darn good.
So
I'm trying to avoid something called Buccaneers, which they've brought out, which doesn't look up my street at all, but they keep forcing the trailer on me, and I'm
Buccaneers.
They must think that. Yes, they must think that I'm the right sort of person. But it's young women in sort of, bodices, and it's really not up my street. So anyway, I'm not going to be talking about that.
Oh,
but there is very good.
What is it? Lady Boss Pirates.
Yeah, I don't
give it up.
It's
give it up.
Some sort of twaddle.
Yes.
All cut to sort of heavy rock music.
Oh dear God! Right. Well, we can give that one.
This should be baroque, not rock.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Anyway, it's a true story, because I love dramas made out of true stories, because often they are sort of condensed in a way that makes them sort of more real and more interesting, with a few bits of just sort of, they massage it in a way that it's very watchable. And this one is indeed watchable. The first time, sort of little warning, the first 2 episodes are a bit slow, but I am a massive Taron Egerton fan. Taron Egerton, we've mentioned many times on the show.
Great actor.
Eddie the Eagle, and he was Elton John in the Elton John series. He also did something 2 or 3 years ago, two years ago, maybe 3, called Blackbird. Well, Kingsman, of course.
As well.
He did a TV series called Blackbird. And he's teamed up with the people behind Blackbird. He got an Emmy nomination for that, and he's teamed up with the same people. And this time they brought out a true story in dramatic form that is called Smoke, and it is about arson investigators. The Taron Egerton character is an ex-fireman. He is now an investigator. He is teamed up reluctantly with the police officer, a woman who has obviously pissed off her boss. So she's been sort of sidelined and sent off to the boonies, in effect, to go and check out fires that are being caused.
Chantal, I'm terribly sorry to have to do this. I don't feel very well, and I'm going to say goodbye. I'm really sorry. Okay. So bye-bye, everybody. My apologies. Bye all.
Okay. Next week.
Well, I see you next week, and thank you so much.
Okay.